Now that is enough to drive you crazy. Let's fix it without even leaving the shop. Keep watching. All the air pressure's bled out of my line, so I can do the repair to double the life. I don't even need to remove the fitting from the hose. This one, it looks like I just date all my stuff. I installed it over 3 years ago, and it's held up this long, which is actually pretty good. So we're going to clamp it in. This is one style. This is another style. I have this one here. This is a nice Milton. This is a Home Depot $4 or $5 one. I like the brass ones. I think the brass ones last way longer. I really despise the cheap Harbor Freight ones, like the steel one that you can get. Even the brass ones from Harbor Freight. The rubber thing they put in there, they suck, and I just don't like them. I don't think they last more than a few months, so it's not even worth saving the 99 cents to go for these. So all I have to do on most standard ones is just clamp down here and just loosen the top. On these Miltons, instead of loosening up here, you got the two joints are right in between here, so you can clamp it down here and you can see that I've had pliers on there, on right there and there. Same thing, it just screws apart. And so on this one, I'm not actually going to pull back the sleeve because I would drop the little retaining balls. And I'm going to pull out the spring with it. Maybe your spring will stay, doesn't matter. Just going to set it aside, and we're left with this. I'll pull everything out just to show you. So the way that this works is this pushes down against there, and this rubber seals against the end of your fitting, and the air is allowed to pass through these little side holes, out the middle hole, up through your device. And so all that ever happens is this gets chewed up right there. You can see on the inside edge, it just gets chewed up a little bit. Flip it over and you're good to go. So all I have to do is flip it over. This little chewed up mark is generally smaller than the little mark right here, because this seals it from leaking when it's just sitting there idle when nothing's plugged into it. And this side is what seals when something's plugged into it. So just that chewed up part right there, I'm just going to flip it over, and I've doubled the life. So with our little flat O-ring flipped over, we can actually just put it in. Whoops, almost fell apart. Put it all back together, spring in, and just screw it back down. Put a drop of oil in there. If you lube up that little O-ring, it helps up that flat O-ring, and let's repressurize it. It's repressurized. Oops, I can't get it down for that. There we go. Now, nothing, no leaks. It's good for another 3 years. Another tip is if you just have one device leaking, or even if more than one is leaking, to look at the bottom of your actual male fitting. Take a nice file, and just every once in a while, just run a nice file across it. Just make sure that all those edges are nice and square and flat, and that'll help if you have one just that kind of leaks once in a while. Do that, and that's another reason this nice brass, it just does that effortlessly, versus if you go by the super duper cheap steel ones. The steel ones, they're actually more impact resistant, but I think that they're a little harder, and they cut up that rubber seal a lot easier. So that's ready to go for another 3 years. You can set that aside, no leaking air. I was going to show you how to do the Milton real fast. Same thing, just clamp it in, clamp right there, and it comes apart at the bottom instead of the top. We'll just pull it apart. And Milton actually sells the little O-rings for it, these little flat O-rings. And it's just located in there. Let me grab a pick. Milton's the only one that I've seen that sells these little O-rings for about 50 cents. And I think that's about the same size as the other ones. It probably works in about all of them. This one's all chewed up really good, but made exactly the same way. It just screws on differently. So you could have essentially a new air fitting for 50 cents if you just had these on hand. You don't have to go to the store, or and it's not, I mean, because you got to unscrew this and then you got to retape it and then screw it back on. It's easy, it's quicker for me to rebuild them than it is to actually do anything with them. So I need to actually order some of these Milton O-rings for 50 cents. I think I got to buy a pack of 10 or something of them, but they should last me a lifetime. Looking at them now, it looks like they go across. The other ones I can't. I went to the store and I've looked at plumbing O-rings and stuff like that, and I've never found one that was exact. I tried to make my own, but I never could find the right thickness or the exact type of rubber. You know, I can either find too thin of rubber for those or too thick, or I found rubber that had fiber reinforcing in it, and that was just wrong for it, so that never really worked very good. But thanks for watching, guys. Want to play fetch? Isn't that a little big?